The modern world is being shaped by raw power once again, and three nations, the United States, China, and Russia, now stand locked in a relentless contest to define the direction of global influence. After U.S. forces captured Venezuela's ousted leader Nicolás Maduro in Caracas, President Donald Trump declared, "From today onward, no one will be able to question American supremacy in the Western Hemisphere." But while Washington asserts its dominance, Beijing and Moscow continue to expand their own strategic reach. Many analysts believe these three powers are quietly constructing a new world order, one that will profoundly reshape Europe, shift regional alliances, and alter the broader balance of power. This is no longer about influence over immediate neighbors. It's about reaching deep into far-off nations through military pressure, economic leverage, and political maneuvering. Stay with us, because this is where the global power struggle becomes unmistakable. This is USMag. America's goal. Under Trump's leadership, the United States attempted to rethink its entire foreign policy, placing the Western Hemisphere at the center of its national security priorities. This marked a sharp break from previous administrations, both Democratic and Republican, which usually framed American power in global terms rather than regional ones. According to Trump-era officials, their approach revolved around a strict America First logic, focusing tightly on issues affecting U.S. citizens directly: immigration, crime, drug trafficking, and emerging threats close to American borders. Stephen Miller, one of Trump's closest advisors, captured the mindset in a single sentence: "The world moves according to strength." This worldview aligns not with the idealism of 1960s diplomacy, but with the expansionist thinking of early 20th century leaders like Theodore Roosevelt and William McKinley. Roosevelt took the 1823 Monroe Doctrine, which warned European powers to stay out of the Americas, and expanded it, arguing that Washington must actively guard North and South America from outside interference. During that era, the U.S. frequently intervened abroad, sending troops to Haiti and Nicaragua, managing finances in the Dominican Republic, even asserting heavy influence in Venezuela. From the moment Trump began his second term, he signaled deep interest in regions close to the United States. The extraordinary extraction of Nicolás Maduro from Caracas fits perfectly into that pattern. It wasn't an isolated event. Trump had already ordered strikes on suspected drug smuggling boats, used sanctions to pressure Latin American governments, and even endorsed candidates in foreign elections. He floated ideas like buying Greenland, controlling the Panama Canal, even absorbing Canada into the United States. The White House's latest national security strategy made the message clear. America's safety depends on maintaining an unquestionable edge in the Western Hemisphere, allowing Washington to exert power confidently whenever needed. Part of this strategy aims to counter China's growing influence among America's neighbors, something Washington views as a serious threat that could clash with U.S. interests far beyond the region. But Trump's focus didn't stop there. He pushed new diplomatic efforts in the Middle East, advancing peace initiatives and expanding ties with Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the UAE. To many in Trump's inner circle, the U.S. is not only a global power, but the defender of Western civilization itself. They often framed American leadership as essential in resisting forces they believed threaten the country's cultural identity and historical traditions. So even within the America First approach, Trump's personal worldview plays a major role in shaping U.S. global behavior. Across 250 years, America's foreign policy has swung between isolationism, interventionism, idealism, and realism, always influenced by military capability, political cycles, and the mindset of its leaders. Even now, during Trump's second term, as the geopolitical landscape shifts rapidly, there's no sign that this cycle is ending. American strategy continues moving through alternating phases of restraint and expansion. China's path to global reach. China's rise is not confined to one region. Its presence stretches across nearly every corner of the globe, from the South Pacific to Central Asia, from the Middle East to Latin America. Beijing has built a global footprint powered by its greatest weapon, industrial dominance. Today, nearly 1/3 of all global manufacturing happens inside China, from everyday electronics to clothing, home goods, machinery, and essential industrial components. To maintain this dominance, Beijing aggressively secured access to the world's rare minerals, resources essential for smartphones, electric vehicles, modern energy systems, and advanced military technologies. China now processes around 90% of the world's rare earth minerals. So when Trump imposed tariffs, China retaliated by restricting exports of these refined materials, demonstrating exactly how much leverage it holds. This is why Washington has grown increasingly interested in places like Greenland, searching for mineral reserves in an escalating competition over the building blocks of future technology. China's transformation is staggering. In 2000, it was still seen as a secondary player in a US-dominated world. By 2026, under Xi Jinping, it had become a full rival superpower, backed by expanding military strength, booming tech sectors, and global infrastructure investments. China's journey from widespread poverty to industrial powerhouse has inspired many developing nations, and its strategy has worked. In 2001, over 80% of countries traded more with the United States than with China. Today, nearly 70% trade more with China. The Belt and Road Initiative accelerated this shift, pouring billions into ports, railways, highways, and energy projects across Asia, Europe, and Africa. Many of those countries now find themselves closely tied, economically and politically, to Beijing. After the U.S. operation in Venezuela, some wondered if China might respond similarly in Taiwan. But Beijing maintains that Taiwan is an internal matter, a province destined to reunify with the mainland. Experts argue Xi Jinping will not launch an invasion simply because of U.S. actions in Latin America. Instead, China will likely continue its long-term strategy. Pressure, intimidation, political isolation, all designed to force Taiwan into negotiated reunification. Xi frames China's mission as the great rejuvenation of the Chinese nation. At a recent military parade, he declared that China's rise cannot be stopped. He envisions a world increasingly looking toward Beijing for leadership, especially during global instability, which he sees not as a threat, but as an opportunity. Xi's message is clear. The world stands at a crossroads, and China believes it is best positioned to guide developing nations through this moment of transformation. Russia's push for regional control. Vladimir Putin once called the collapse of the Soviet Union the greatest geopolitical disaster of the 20th century. Many Russians still refer to former Soviet states as the near abroad, a term implying these nations are not entirely separate, not fully independent, at least not in the same way countries farther away might be. This reflects the Kremlin's belief that Russia holds legitimate interests, even responsibilities, in the political affairs of its neighbors. But Moscow rarely defines where its sphere of influence begins or ends. Putin once remarked, "Russia's borders never end." Hardliners interpret this literally, imagining Russia's influence extending across all territories once controlled by the Russian Empire, or beyond. That is why the Kremlin insists annexed Ukrainian regions are part of its historical lands. In practice, Russia acknowledges the sovereignty of former Soviet republics, as long as they remain aligned with Moscow. But when nations drift toward the West, the Kremlin responds with pressure. Ukraine felt this immediately. Even after independence, Kiev remained aligned with Moscow for over a decade, allowing Russia to keep its naval base in Crimea. Russia was satisfied, until Ukraine elected a pro-Western president, Viktor Yushchenko. Moscow reacted by cutting gas supplies twice, in 2006 and again in 2009. When economic pressure and political interference failed, Russia seized Crimea in 2014 and launched a full-scale invasion of Ukraine in 2022. A similar story played out in Georgia. When President Mikhail Saakashvili pushed reforms and leaned toward NATO and the West, Russia launched a war in 2008, occupying 20% of Georgian territory. Since then, Russian forces have slowly moved border fences deeper into Georgian land, a process locals call creeping annexation. Western hesitation after Russia's actions in Georgia and Ukraine convinced Putin that expansion across the near abroad is achievable. Several former Soviet states, Belarus, Kazakhstan, Tajikistan, Kyrgyzstan, Armenia, still host Russian troops and remain aligned with Moscow's security orbit. But problems arise when nations democratize, strengthen Western ties, or elect leaders who reject Kremlin influence. Ukraine and Georgia followed that path. Both were met with military force. History is filled with wars justified under the banner of protecting national interests, defending borders, or safeguarding ethnic groups abroad. But the post-World War II effort to build a world based on equal sovereignty, regardless of military power, is under strain. Today, the revived competition for influence among America, China, and Russia threatens to pull Europe, Eurasia, and surrounding regions back toward the geopolitics of earlier centuries, where might dictated legitimacy and power shaped everything. Let us know what you think about today's power struggles in the comments. Subscribe for more in-depth analyses from USMag.